Hi everybody, my name is Benmakhlouf. I'm a PhD student from Morocco at the Biomedical Genomics and Oncogenetics Research Laboratory, Faculty of Sciences and Techniques of Tangier, University Abdelmalek Saadi. First, I would like to thank Beyond Science Initiative for this opportunity, and now I will present a part of my thesis project, screening of Harzallah-related homeobox gene ARX in Moroccan patients with non-syndromic X-linked intellectual disability. Intellectual disability is defined as a neurodevelopmental disorder that begins in childhood. It is characterized by intellectual difficulties as well as difficulties in conceptual, social, and practical areas of living, and by combination of deficits in both cognitive functioning and adaptive behavior, which covers many daily social and practical skills. The ID originates before the age of 18, and its prevalence is 1 to 3%. Generally, males are more likely affected than females. Severity of ID is based on the levels of intellectual functioning. We distinguish 4 levels of ID. Mild ID, when the intellectual quotient score IQ is between 55 and 70. Moderate ID, when the IQ is between 40 and 54. Severe ID, when the IQ is between 25 and 39. And profound ID, when the IQ is less than 25. There is heterogeneity of risk factors for or influencing the ID, either genetic factors, non-genetic factors, and unexplained factors. For genetic factors, there are genopathies like Fragile X syndrome, ARX syndrome, and some chromosomal aberrations or imprinted genes like insertions and deletions. For non-genetic factors, there are environmental factors, infections, trauma, and accidents. In addition to categorization by severity by IQ level, ID can also be grouped into syndromic ID when patients present with one or multiple clinical features or comorbidities in addition to ID, and non-syndromic ID when the presence of ID is the sole clinical feature. There are several genes involved in syndromic and non-syndromic X-linked intellectual disability, like Harzallah-related homeobox gene ARX, which is an important gene responsible for X-linked intellectual disability that belongs to the paired class from homeoprotein. It is an ortholog to the Drosophila Harzallah homeobox gene, and it is located at XP2213. It contains 5 exons and encodes 562 amino acid protein, and it spans 12 kilobases of genomic DNA. The protein contains 4 polyalanine tracts, 3 of which are encoded in exon 2 and 1 in exon 4. This gene is coding for a transcription factor, and it's expressed in embryonic brain, endocrine pancreas, testes, and probably in other tissues as well as in adult brain, heart, skeletal muscle, and liver. It has an important role in neurodevelopmental. Mutation of ARX gene are the most frequent mutation of syndromic and non-syndromic intellectual disability, and they are responsible for a wide phenotypic spectrum. There are mutation of ARX gene. There are deletions, insertions, missense, and duplications. More than 60% of ARX mutations expand to the first tract and second polyalanine tracts. The duplication 24 base pair 428, 451 is the most recurrent, and it affects 1 in 12,000 males. It's due to an expansion of the polyalanine domain and the ARX protein in the position 144, 145, 55, so 12 to 20 alanine. Studies on ID are scarce in Arab countries, in particular studies focusing on ARX Gene. To the best of our knowledge, no studies about mutation in ARX Gene in Moroccan population have been reported. So the present work is the first to investigate the application 24 base pair among patients with milder non-syndromic ID in our country. The aim of our project is to determine the prevalence and the symptoms of ID in Moroccan patients and to screen for the 24 base pair duplication mutation in Moroccan males with mild non-syndromic X-linked intellectual disability living in first city and their regions. Our study is molecular, prospective, and exploratory monocentric. We have selected 186 subjects with milder non-syndromic ID that were referred to 3 ID centers in first city: at Tawassul Center for Mentally Retarded, Mafatih al-Rahma, and Prince Moulay Abdullah Foundation from October 2014 to July 2019. All tutors or guardians of ID patients were signed informed consent. In addition, this study was approved by the Ethical Committee Protocols of University Hospital Ethics Committee in the Faculty of Medicine and Pharmacy in Fès, Morocco. We have excluded patients with trisomy 21 or autism. We have established the questionnaire to assess and collect physical, cognitive, and behavioral data for each affected individual, like familial history and clinical history. For the DNA extraction, blood samples of our patients were collected at the 3 participating centers by qualified nurses. 5 milliliters of blood have been collected in EDTA tubes for DNA extraction, and DNA was isolated from blood leukocytes by the Kite Wizard in the Biomedical Genomics and Oncogenetics Research Laboratory at the Faculty of Sciences and Techniques of Tangier in Morocco. For the mutational screening, all males patients, 118 males, were screened for the most recurrent duplication 24 base pair, and the screening was performed by fragment analysis of PCR products of ARX Gene 2 using Agilent 2100 bioanalyzer. It was performed in the Molecular Genetics Laboratory at the University Hospital Center Saint-Étienne in France, and we designed these primers. For data analysis, we have processed and analyzed the data with the IBM SPSS statistical package. The results were expressed as percentages, and patients' data was anonymous and confidential. The average age of our patients was 15, 52, more or less 6, 59, and sex ratio male to female was 2:04. So it is a young population containing children, teenagers, and adults aged between 2 and 36 years old, and the IQ were less than 70. These patients belong to the same socio-economic situation from Morocco. In accordance with the literature data, a high male predominance is observed. So we have 65% male ID males versus 33% ID females. This discordance between males and females due to mutations in X-linked genes and can be explained by mothers can be conductive and transmit the X chromosome to their child, and other factors proposed such as behavioral differences, perinatal vulnerability in men, or risk factors related to the X chromosome causing ID. In addition, some gene mutations reduce marginally the IQ and shift its distribution to the distribution in males, which would be sufficient to account for the strong male excess observed in mild ID. The most common behavioral signs in our subjects were language difficulty, 23%, epileptic seizures, 22%, concentration problems, 19%, nervousness, 18%, aggressiveness and hyperactivity and agitation. There is a relation between ID and these symptoms. For the mutational screening, non-duplication 24 base pair was detected in our patients in exon 2 of ARX gene. So there we have patients with the control and the ladder, so non-duplication was detected. Our results were similar to previous studies carried out in other populations from Tunisia, Denmark, and Belgium. So ARX mutations were not a common cause of this disorder, and polyalanine expansions in ARX are probably not a frequent cause of non-syndromic X-linked intellectual disability in our series. ARX screening should be performed not only for the exon 2 and the most recurrent duplication, but also for all the 5 exons. Evaluate the prevalence of ARX mutation in our country. In conclusion, our study has some limitation, like the monocentric nature, since patients included were from centers located in only one city, and lack of some detailed clinical information of patients due to the socioeconomic factors, the high cost of analysis, which makes the diagnosis difficult and incomplete. ID is generally known by Moroccan population, which probably influenced the size of our series, and our study has some prospects. So more investigations with extra samples from ID patients from multiple centers are required to validate this preliminary finding and to confirm them, and advancements of DNA chips could allow to screen several genes of X-linked intellectual disability at the same time. And thank you for your attention.